want to say today is that what I want to talk is about the COVID-19. What is the Tibetan medicine understanding of the COVID-19? May not exactly same as like a Western, like a protocols of the COVID-19 or understand of the COVID-19, may not. But we Tibetan medicine, we believe it's a very close, almost exactly sort of like. So we call is the Nyen Rim. Nyen is like a virus, Rim is a contagious. In generally, Rim could be also common flu. Common flu is also a Rim. Rim means is like a gradually transformed to another one, spread to other one. But then this Nyen is like the more sort of like aggressive, involved with the virus. So Nyen Rim is that today's our topic. When we're talking this Nyen Rim, I want to talk a little bit of what's the cause conditions of the Nyen Rim. Second, I want to talk a little bit of why we call it Nyen Rim. What is the name, reason of the name. And then the third, I want to talk a little bit of the general symptoms of the what is the Nyen Rim symptom is. And then the next one, for the one, I want to talk a little bit of the based on the time frames, every 3 days, approximately every 3 days, how the virus or the problem will change, the character or the nature change into our body. And then the last part, I want to talk a little bit of the treatment part. So the first one, when we're talking sort of like this Nyen Rim, as we said, the Nyen Rim, and the cause conditions of the Nyen Rim in the Tibetan medicine book, we said, so once we get into sort of like a time of the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga means is that we are not following what's supposed to do by human, because human and other animal, we each of us, we have a body, we have a mind, we have happy, sorrow, pain, so desire, we each of us we have. But human has a big difference. We have this, that the understanding of the judgment. What is the good, what is the bad, what do you like, what you don't like. So we have understand and we have expressed to the others. So that way we call Mashitongomi Tenyi. So able to understand other beings' pain, suffering, or happy, and you're feeling able to explain or express to the others. So this one we call is that the human. But then, like sometimes, not sometimes, but it's recent years, gradually, according to Tibetan medicine, human not acting as like what the human's duties. Because we became is very aggressive to the natures, very aggressive to the other animals. And also we are pretty aggressive to each of us. We as a human, since we have such a complexity brain functioning, it's need to taking care of our home, which is that the land, motherland, or the environment. And who is sharing that land or the environment, who is the sentient beings, who's sharing. Someone is flying, someone is walking, someone is underwater, underground, plus us. The human job is sort of like to taking care of them, to helping them, to make a better life for them. And plus is we are sort of like to make friend, good relations, trust each others. There's one comment. This is why we have a hand, long arms. And then they said, because long arms is good to handshake, say, hello, how are you? Or say, oh, I love you, a hug. So they said, as you see, to have a long arms is useful. And then they said, why we have 5 fingers? 5 finger is not a purpose for fighting. To say sort of like shaking and they say thank you, these kind of things. The purpose of our body in the Tibetan medicine metaphor of the body, we say, so the two hand is looks like silk cotton's ornament to make beauty, not fighting. So then our beauty things we are using as ugly way fighting. And also our sort of like the mind supposed to utilizing something positive, but we use utilizing as negative way. So that's conflicting a lot of problems. Today, all those suffering, what we facing, somehow we made it. We are we created. So we are the responsibility or responsible of the whatever we're facing today suffering. So that's the reason they said is ngapjatame to Lebanon. So once they get into sort of like the once we get into the like the Kali Yoga time, and then who's supposed to follow certain vows, we are not following. Practitioners looks like practitioners dressing as like practitioners, but they're missing the real essence. Leaders, it's got the positions, chair, seat, power, whatever, but is not leading because is we choosing a leader. It's like the parent for the whole these people who live in that region. But then recent our leaders, not all of them, of course, but some of our leaders, and then it became like a completely corruptions and then making problems, making sufferings. Instead of doing like a parents taking care of your population, people in the country or the whatever the state, and then they're harming them, they're making more sufferings. So these kind of then we call is we are not following our commitment, which means is what we're supposed to do. And then these kind of cases, then we will get a lot of this conflict because even is like a conflict to our neighbors, even we don't think it's like a provocation or this or that, but just conflict to our neighbors, we will get something like energy conflict. When we go out, when you see your neighbors you don't like, and you feel little sort of like you feel something bearish or something, no? So this kind of also like short distance, like provocating, no? So these kind of when you're making like a longer distance or shorter distance, then you will get this kind of problem. So what I'm going to say is the cause conditions of this disease, like Nyingma disease, is connected to the wrong actions of the human. They didn't say wrong actions of the animals. They didn't say a wolf eat a lot of meat. They didn't say that. Or they didn't say chicken making a lot of eggs. Also, they didn't say that. You know, the human making wrong actions, this or that way, then we will have infinitive sufferings. That also looks like really truth, no? Uh, so this is sort of like the cause conditions, and then there are also many other cause conditions, but this is sort of like the cause conditions. Second one is why we call it Nyenrim, because Nyenrim is that the virus or this Nyen is like airborne like virus, like carrying with the air, so not on the ground, sort of like that floating on the space. Of course, the main causing like the fire element, predominant fire and the wind element. So this kind of like fire and the wind element composed or predominant, and then this virus is moving to the sky, sort of like. So as we said before, the cause, like all those like provocations, which what we conflicting, making a lot of unhappies and like imbalanced things, accumulating a lot of negative activities. Not only human don't like, but even deities, God, those group also don't like what are we doing. Result of that, the energy, which we call the yin, is travels through the fire and wind element, and then we can get. So how to get to our body, or how to fly, or how to get these kind of things, and then through our sense organs, through our body pores, they can sort of like through the inhaling, like through the nose, through the touching, so any kind of like a cavity, and then they can be entered. So this is, so in the Tibetan medicine, like allergy, so we call it like that the poisons or toxics comes through the sunlight, through the dusties, through the airs, through the waters, through the touchings. So this, that the virus one is like through the inhaling, through the dusty, through the touching, and through the any sort of like the cavities. So they're able to enter through those kind of cavities path, and then able to spread to the big, large community or to people. That way they call is the Nyenjin or the Yam. So that is sort of like the reason of the name, why we call is like Nyenjin. Okay. The next one is when we're looking sort of like that how many different types of Nyenjin disease in the Tibetan medicine. In the Tibetan medicine, we have Nyingma 18, like Nyingma Jobje. So 18 different types of this kind of like a virus contagious disease. Tibetan medicine somehow is very extensively explained those Nyen disease. We have like a lot of things in the Tibetan medicine aspect. A lot of things is like the Dharma teachings, which is the treasure teachings. So we have a lot of this kind of like that the things. The reason a lot of those like the teachings, like the Guru Rinpoche's teachings, or also many different masters' teaching, is they say once time comes, certain like a critical time arrives, we will have a lot of disease spreading to the world. There's no time to cure. For that reason, what we need to do, preventing long distance, prevent short distance, prevent, and how, what would be the symptom, how should we recognize, how should we treat. So this, that the Nyenjim disease in Tibetan medicine is a huge topic. So this is sort of like that the Nyenjim. The next one is when we're talking like symptoms. Okay, Nyejim, cause of the Nyejim is something wrong actions, our human wrong actions. The spreading disease through the air element, through the airs, can go like a bigger, larger. The reason is this is like a pandemic disease, so that way we call Nyejim. But what would be the symptoms? What are the symptoms? How we need to recognize? Because as engagement and the flu is very similar, because there's a lot of this kind of thing is like sharing their symptoms, like a common flu and the engagement. So those kind of many of them like sharing symptoms. For that reason, how we should sort of like understand. So this one is like the basic symptom when we're looking. It's the same as like the common flu symptoms. Common flu symptom is not only one or two symptoms. There are also like three stages of the symptoms. Soon the disease on the body, there's one symptom. Once the disease is developed, there's one symptoms. Once that the disease became a little more chronic, there's another one natures. So these three sort of like three stages is they changing their natures. So when we look in like a Tibetan medicine, we have like flu medicine, like antibiotic in the Tibetan medicine. If you take that the beginning, it's too strong. It's not needed. If you take end, also is don't need it. If you use like antibiotic in the Tibetan medicine, like beginning and the end, is instead of help, they brings more side effect because as two body nature is different. When you should take is the middle. Why? The first that the disease when they arrive sort of like attack to the body time is still sort of like predominated by the earth, the water element, because still the disease is more like superficial on the skins. At that time, we do not need to take like antibiotic, just drink ginger tea, good ginger lemon tea, no lemon, ginger honey tea, and then take a good rest, and then you get a sweat, and after the sweat should be fine. So this is why that time we should drink ginger tea, because is at that time in your body the fever or the heat is still not matured yet, which means is that the heat nature is not manifested, still not fully developed yet. So that time you should drink ginger tea, ginger honey, and then take a good rest. The second stage is now the disease is not on the superficial. Now the disease is on the muscles close to the blood. So this kind of moment is now the disease is fully manifested, which means is now we runs the fevers. Beginning we have like shiverings, aching joints. Why we have shiverings? Because it's still that the fire is not manifesting yet. And the second stage comes, as we said, now they reach to the muscles, to the blood, this area. Now we feel the fevers. Now we don't feel like shivering. Now our body is superly hot, which we call the high temperature. At that time, what is talking now, the seed of the disease, which is the heat, is fully developed. Now ginger tea works. No, ginger tea is now is not ginger tea would work, but ginger tea could harm. Why? Because as ginger is nature of the ginger is hot, rough, light. There already is a fire hot, so if you put more hot, and then like a fire adding wood, sort of like then your fire became more strong. That time what we need to do, then we need to take like the antibiotic sort of like. And simply dandelion, if you know what is the dandelion, if you have dandelion, you make a tea out of the dandelion, will be very useful. Because the taste of the dandelion is bitter, natures of the dandelion is cold. So because now the antidote of the fire is cold, no antidote of the heat is cold. So for that reason, that time antibiotic is working. But then the third stage comes. Now the disease is on the organs or more deeper level. That time is again is the body nature is changed because it's been sick couple of days, by the heat nature's body is dehydrated, also no appetite, so the body constituents sort of like losing. Also the natures of the disease also sort of like causing like a deplete the bodily constituents, which means is like seven tissues of the body is like blood, muscle, fat, so on and so forth. So those are declined. At that time, what happened in our body is wind element is take over. At that time, you feel like more fever, more hot, but is at that time not the heat problem. The problem is wind. At that time, what do you need to do? Ginger tea work? No, ginger would not work. The dandelion tea? No. Both could cause like more side effect. They little partially may little bit work, but is not. What you can do? You can do sort of like a bone broth, good bone soups, or simply you drink a chamomile tea. That is sort of like simple way. Another one you can drink like the chamomile tea with a nutmeg. So this kind of way then helps. So what I'm trying to saying is that even though when we're looking the common flu also is since the beginning till the end is not the same level. Every hour, every minute is they changing their natures, they progressing in our body. Same like that way, the enzyme also when we get to the body, they're also changing the moment by moment. So when we're looking sort of like the enzyme in the Tibetan medicine, when we get like enzyme into the body, the first 3 days of the enzyme is on the body is like stages of the pagan or the pagan predominated time, which means is a pagan means is like earth and the water element, which means still the fire element is not manifested yet. So these 3 days of the pagan time, uh, so what we can feel sort of like that the heat natures like a tawa, like heat, like fevers going on to sort of like head. So you feel sort of like very like a not a strong pain, but it is heavy headache. And also you feel like all the calves, like thick muscles, like bicep, triceps, or those kind of muscles, sort of like you feel like aching. And also shiverings. You became like tired, fatigued, like lazy. You don't want to do things. You suddenly you became little lazy. And also you feel a little nausea. So meantime also you like to be warm, like you would like to sit under sunlight or near the fire or wearing the warm clothes. In the Tibetan medicine we say nimanyek, so you follow the sun, which means you want to reach the sunlight. So this kind of what they're talking is still your body is that the, as we said like before, like the heat is not matured yet, not fully developed yet. So this is like the first 3 days. The second 3 days is more like a predominant with a fire element, which means is now the disease is more deeper on the bodies, like muscles, blood, so this kind of. So at that time, what do you feel? You feel like strong thirsties, or the sense organ area you feel like dry, special like nostrils, those kind of you feel like dry. And also when you checked your eyes, all those white parts of eyes became little reddish. And if you look at your own urine, the color of the urine became is a little reddish, strong smells. More red color, more strong smell means there is more heat in the body. So that is like a second 3 days. So the day number 4, 5, and 6. So this kind of is more predominated by the fire element. The next 3 days more predominate in by the blood systems, which means is now the disease in the blood systems. The blood system is again is like the categories under the fire element. So at that time, what happened is you see more sort of like fever symptoms, heat symptoms. When you check like pulse or check the urines that the Tibetan medicine diagnostic systems. Generally, Tibetan medicine, we have 38 methods of the diagnostics, but they're commonly or in summarized to be using like checking the pulse, looking the urines, and then look to the tongues and eyes. So when you're looking those observation system, when you use everything you see as like the fire element predominant. At that time also you will have strong sweating, and then sweating has a strong smells. Also you feel like very heavy, fatigue, tired, and then the heat is runs more higher. So this is like the third 3 days. The fourth 3 days is now that the disease is more deeper, which means is into the channel systems, like tube systems, or like a net systems or like netting systems. In the Tibetan medicine, we call lung and the tak, sort of like a lung tak type to like the lung with the blood. So at that time, what happened? Now the Thawa disease more reach to the solar organs. And then like a COVID-19 case, then closely we need ventilators because it's now they're reaching to the organs. At that time, what happens also, we can lose the memories, we can get into like a losing consciousness. If they getting worse, not all in consciousness, but also maybe may not get come back, or sometimes also can get like a crazy, either get into like a knockdown, sort of like losing consciousness, or became completely sort of like the crazy. Also, the person can lose whole body strength. The complexions became little dark. When you look in the tongue is like reddish, rough, dry, and you can see like pimples on the tongues. So these kind of things can happen. So this that the fourth 3 days is now the disease is more in the solar organs. And then the fifth 3 days, to so now is that the disease became like completely chronic, especially if you're treating with something. So now this the disease is like the started with the pagan and the heat, then it developed like heat, now turned into the lung, which means is like same like a idea is as we said before. Body became is weak, dehydrated, many aspects, not able to eat, not able to drink, and then plus is the heat. So the body lost like the bodily constituents, depleted bodily constituents at that time. And then what we have is a lot of like symptoms of the mental aspect, emotional sort of like. the person became like hallucinations or anxieties. Meantime shows a lot of like a panic. So what means that time is that the predominated by the like the wind element. So all those together is like the 15 days. So this one is sort of like we are very surprised how the Western medicine put like a quarantine for 14 days. There also must be a reason why these 14 days, then either yes or no, something can be differentiated, either we say yes, you cannot, you still you need to stay, or no, so you don't have any problems, you can go out. So the quarantine like take like 14 days, but the Tibetan medicine, there is like 15 days of type of like a quarantines. So this one also a good part of this one. And when we're looking sort of like at the general disease, not COVID-19 or this or that, in general disease, when they enter to the body, they mostly enter starting from the skin, like very superficial skins, then go to the goes through the skins, then goes to the muscles, then goes to the fat, then goes to the channels, then goes to the bones, then goes to the solid organs, then finally get to the whole organs. So this six is we call the six pathways of the disease, how the disease enter to the bodies, and special like the contagious disease, any kind of like disease connect to the heat nature. So there goes this kind of like patterns. So this is a very useful one for us to know. And in generally, when we're talking sort of like the purpose of to study medicine or healthcare is to prevent, not to treat. Once we get to the treat, anyway, it's a little too late. Once we see certain symptom, means it is already that the seed of the disease been with you in your body for a little while, and then they manifesting their symptoms. When we see certain symptoms, for that reason is sort of like the once we get the symptom, it's a little too late. We need to take medicine. Now is sometimes not able to cure 100%, and there's sometimes the medicine has a side effect. So this is not only like the Nyeji medicine, but any other medicines, any other disease. For that reason is the minawa nebando but the nawasowandu be kansa so be mangala barchawu. So the first page of the Tibetan medicine, people who want to stay healthy and who wants to promote health, you should study medicines. Also, our Rinpoche, Namganopa Rinpoche's book, we call The Birth, Life, and the Death. I really highly recommend you to get that book and then to have. In that book, there's a lot of knowledge. It's not only medicine, Tibetan medicine, but there's many teaching important things. And then anyway, also that book, Rinpoche's book, also the first page he said is either you want to become a doctor or you don't want it. But as long as you are a human being, you should study a little bit of medicine. Minimum, you should know how you can prevent. So this is really is such important a teaching. As we said, once we sick, then there's no options. We need to go to see doctors. Once we get to the doctor, there's no options. Whatever they suggested, we have to do. Sometimes then the best thing what we can do is try to choosing some dates and they try to, to get more opinions, these kind of things. We have option other than we have to treat whatever is the problem. But the prevent is different. Prevent is in our hand. Once we seek, our power is not on our hand of the doctors. So in general, when we're talking sort of like to prevent disease through the diet, through the behavior, through the julin, through the like a mantra. So there's many different aspects, many different way we can prevent. But even like this kind of like the COVID-19, once we get into the body, before to get down to the organs, before you need the ventilators, we had enough time. We had more or less like 9 days. When the disease on the skin, we should try to prevent not getting down to the muscles. Once the disease on the muscles, we should try to prevent, don't get into the bones or more deeper. And then once we get into the organ, it's a little too late. So as we know also that the COVID-19 people who need a ventilator, then they didn't do well. Most people then, once we get the ventilator, then they don't do well. Because which means is that the getting down there on the way, whole body system is made is weak. This is number one, even though there is medicine, but now the body doesn't respond to the medicines because the body is too weak. And then the lung, as we know, lung is one of the main sort of like organ. In the Tibetan medicine, we say like the lower manga nangulum or the lower pungi gebu said, and upper lung is like a minister of the king. Lower lung, which is nearby the heart, is like princess. Means is the lower lobes of the lung, something happened and cannot retreat. Princess died means is no one can replace the princess, no? Same like that way that the lower lobes of the lung, something happened. According to Tibetan medicine, is we're not able to treat. For that reason is that the COVID-19, this kind of like the like the nyan get into the lung, the first thing what they go to the attack to the lower part, like the princess area, because that is where we inhaling that breathe, where they're coming from. So then number one, they stops the bleed, I mean the breathing part. Once we're not breathing well, then we don't get the oxygens. If we don't get the oxygens, then the body system will not travel. Then whole body is became weak because is oxygen is one of the life. When we're talking sort of like life, alive, life, so the oxygen is one of the main. For that reason, if we don't breathe, like I don't think we can stay 1 minute without inhaling breath. If you trained some reason, maybe you can, but other than that, we can't. If we stay 1 minute without breathe, then we already gone probably. You see, so that is oxygen, that is the breathing. So for this kind of reason, once the lung is attacked, then it's not easy. Of course, through the lung, then also can felt whole other organs. So this kind of reason, what I'm trying to saying is that once we get the disease in our body, there is many different way we can try to prevent. Because the Tibetan medicine, since we have this very good is systematic, so like we have very good system. First, what you should do. Second, what you should do. Third, what you should do. So this kind of we have very precise like a guidelines. And during the last year and then now this COVID-19, outbreak into the US and Canada, I mean the whole world. And some of our doctor is treated like hundreds of patients. And then anyway, every Tibetan doctor treated the COVID-19 patient. So we all is very successful. It's like very successful. Almost everyone who took the herb is like overcome. So this is sort of like the I want to tell you, if you live where you live area, there is a Tibetan medicine practitioner. If you get like, or you or your friend or someone get like COVID-19, try to contact with them. They will give you a different tea form. It's very easy to make and then very useful. At least they can advise for you how you can manage through your kitchen recipe to prevent, don't get down to the organs. So once you get down there, is not easy, as I told you. Okay, so this is sort of like the symptoms. Then there's many other symptoms, as I told you. There's like many different types of symptoms, but those are the main sort of like symptoms. So COVID-19, when we get into the body, also there is the symptom. This one is like is more sort of like the like a first show like a common flu symptoms, then is it runs fevers, then more strong fevers, then suddenly body became very weak, then get like the body get weak time, then can losing also consciousness or become crazy. After that then became like hallucinations or completely like mind goes out of control. So this is, we said, one like systems. But sometimes I'm talking with my own experience this last 9, 10 months working with a COVID-19 patient. And then each person had a different studied symptoms. The mostly people like had a very strong pain on the chest, upper back area after the shiverings, after shivering sort of like things. And then that is one could be the COVID symptoms. And then some people is without pain, like upper back, started with a diarrhea. That also happened. Some people is no diarrhea, no upper pain, just looks like is like a sore throat. This kind of started also late June to the COVID-19, sort of like the virus. So there had a many different started sort of like so maybe before they didn't notice when they started from the superficial aspect, because is the symptom to appear the symptom, how fast the disease get onto the organs is also dependent on the seasons, personalities, also the environment, plus your diet, plus your body strength. So some people will take like 3 days to mature, to develop all the heat. But like its season is autumn, the region is like a desert, hot climate. You are middle age and then used to you drink alcohols or eating lamb, which means your body already has a lot of heat. This kind of time is would not take 3 days to make mature to develop the heat. Overnight could also they develop because its outer circumstance also affects a lot. In the Tibetan medicine, when we get into the diagnostics, we have a chuchu, observe to the age, regions, seasons, locations, region, parts of the body sick, plus your diet, history of your health. So this kind of we need to observe like 10 different informations to make it really a conclusion of someone's like pathology. So for this kind of reason, and sometimes getting certain symptom to get to the before we said like 15 days we take down to get to the organs, like to the whole organs. But sometimes is without 15 days also like get down to the organs is more faster also happened. That's I just want to say because sometimes we say certain things then the dependent regions then doesn't responding so well. So this one. And then the next part, I want to say a little bit of the treatment aspects. So when we're talking like a treatment, there is two, three, four different way to treat. Treat through the diet, treat through the behave, treat through the medicines, treat through the external therapy. So that is like the Tibetan medicine. So individually, we have like 98 methods of the treatment and summarized into four categories of the treatment. So in the medicine part today, we will not talk because it's useless for you. So that the diet part is that the first when you get the disease, when you think maybe this is something like connect to the virus or connect to the flu, meantime you should not eat any sweet product, any dairy product, any sour product, and also like the spoiled or this kind of food. What happened is if you eat like sweet and a dairy product, sweet product supports to this virus. Virus became is more sort of like a supports to the life of the virus. The sour makes more active. So then both is not the necessarily good. Another one is that the dairy product has a two quality way the beginning of the catching cold or this kind of like virus time is not good, especially this COVID-19. The reason is that the dairy product, number one, is a support to the virus. That also true. And then number two makes also like the congestions. So the the milk dairy product, if they produce any kind of food which can produce the congestions, like mucus congestions, and then later will suffer more on the lungs. So for that reason, it's any kind of like food can produce the gluten or like gluten means sticky, sticky means it's like mucus. So this kind of food you should avoid. Uh, in few months ago, we had one Tibetan medicine doctor who live in Canada, uh, who worked with a COVID-19 patient, over 100 people, close to 200 people. We invited him to teach a younger, I mean, they're not younger, older, but it's a Tibetan medicine community. So at American Tibetan Medical Association, we organized like a quarterly to continue education for the Tibetan medicine doctors. So we invited him, and then he gave a wonderful talk. And then during his talk, he said also the rice is not good because his rice has a lot of this the gluten, no? So also this can make. So he said as banana is not good, rice is not good, and then wheat, the white flour also not good. Any kind of can causing congestions, little sticky things, and then later will causing more like lung and congestions. So that this kind of food they said is not good. So in the Tibetan medicine, we say like sweet is not good, sour is not good, dairy product is not good, and in generally spoiled food is not good for anything. No, what you need to eat is a fresh food and more like room neutral temperatures, neutrals, not too hot, not too cold. So when we're looking like meat groups, lamb is a hot, warm nature. Pork or the goat is a cold nature. Beef is more neutral. So this kind of like neutral is good. And then another one also that the not only the neutral but also slightly cold. So means is like fresh food is good. Like a fresh if you use like the fresh vegetables, fresh grains, or fresh cooked. So those kind of food is good. The dairy product is not good for the beginning, but after 11 days, then the milk became like nectars, which means is that now the disease nature is changing and the body is becoming weaker and weaker. So now the milk became sort of like a nectars to building up the body, the constituents, and also to help the disease. In the Tibetan medicine, we use a lot cow's milk for the treatment for the lungs. If the lung producing like congestions becoming sort of like stuck, then is not good, as we said it before. But then what happened is like wind appeared, like the after like the 14 after the 9 days, then wind appears. So this kind of time, then the milk is good. For that reason, we says like the day number 11 comes, then the milk became sort of like the nectar. If you have like a lung ulcer or you worked history like chemical regions long time, or you had a sort of like a lung issue problems, then if you drink milk is good. What you can do is like half milk, half water, boil together, and then you can drink. So then this kind of milk is it became very useful. So that you need to drink cow's milk, not goat milk. Okay. Another one when we're looking like the treatments in generally is cloves is very good. Cloves is in the Tibetan medicine is antivirus. Also, cloves is one of the main medicine for lymphatic system, like a thyroid gland. And also, cloves is also good medicine for to improve the circulations. And special, this cloves is very good, as we said. Once they like the fever problems, once they get down to the day number 12, so this kind of region now they reach to the empty, like wind increasing, and then get the sort of like either fainting, knocked down, or crazy, or hallucinations. This kind of time, what happened is the disease is mainly attacked to the like the center like life sustaining systems, which means is in the heart, like the valves in the heart. So the clove is a very good medicine for this kind of. So clove tea is good. Clove you can make as tea. You can drink like a tea. 3 to 5 pieces of cloves crush a little bit, boiled, and then you can drink that. Or you can make that the cloves, nutmeg together, or cloves with the cinnamon together. So this kind of, you can change different other spices, and the main you can use the cloves. So cloves is very important in medicine, into Tibetan medicine. And then nutmeg is one of the main medicine for wind element, to control the wind. It means it help you sleep, help you calm down, help you to make project, sort of like to make you grounding. And also nutmeg is one of the main medicine for nerve systems. So you must be heard, there's one Tibetan popular, I mean the common herbs, they're called the Bimala, no? So Bimala is one of the very important medicine if you have any emotion problems, special like insomnias. Somehow your mind, your energy not able to settle down. Your energy is so floating, sort of like scattered. This kind of time, then Bimala is very important in medicine. So must be you heard. So nutmeg is one of the main ingredients of the Bimala. And the nutmeg clove both is ingredients of the Bimala. So this kind of reason, then nutmeg is important. The another one is cinnamon. Cinnamon is also one medicine for the nerve, and special, the cinnamon is very good medicine for bone, like the in the problems in the bone. So this kind of reason is like the cinnamon is very important. So when we looking like a bone, bone means is like a structures of the body. Once the bone get weak, then we're not going to stand up. So we can tell now once we have some the problems on the knee, then whole body is not going to stand up, because as a knee, the bone is not going to work. So that means is the bone is like a structure, skeletal structures of our body. So then but is most bone is like the tube, no? Where is that the bone marrows? So the bone is sort of like also pathways of the wind element. Anytime when you have the wind, automatically bone, nerve, brain, those are became weak. So this is their own territory, sort of. Due to that reason, then our mind became unsettled. Our body became sort of like unsettled, and also unstable. The body also like unstable, mind is unstable. And the meantime also happened sort of like that losing the bodily constituent special, that the immunity. In the Tibetan medicine we call dang, which is immune systems. So that which is going to protect the bodies. For that reason, then nutmeg is very important to control the wind. Another spices is very important is cardamom. Cardamom also, the cardamom is main functions of the cardamom is for restraining the kidney. In the Tibetan medicine, kidney we presented as, we said kema chilin keba dungdingda. So kidney is presented as like the two wall of the house. The functions of the wall is to lifting the roof. No? Without a wall, then the roof is collapsed. If the roof collapses, then people inside that house probably going to happen something. Same like that way, the kidney is sort of like lifting whole body up. And then not only that one, also there's many other functions. So kidney is a very important one organ. So the cardamom is very important in medicine for kidney. Since the kidney is a organ dealing with water and reproductive organs, the kidney is an organ dealing with the water and the wind element mainly. So all the reproductive organ is mainly predominated by the wind element, like hormone, and the kidney that the or the urinary system, bladder urinary system is the water. So kidney is that the two kidney has a two function, one protecting or working with the reproductive, and the other one working with the bladders, waters, or body water system. For that reason, kidney is easy to get cold, pain, weak. If they're getting worse, then it's a kidney failure. Then we need what they do, like the dialysis, not to clean the kidneys, which means the kidney is not working their own, like it's automatically. So this kind of reason is like the cardamom is very important a medicine for kidney. Meantime, also cardamom works for the whole digestive systems, like increase the metabolic system, metabolic heat, increase or protect. In the Tibetan medicine, po shingsandabe medu so we talking this that the stomach, digestive system, the stomach is like that the field where we grow all the crops. If we're living in this society or wherever you live, we need to get food, food where they're coming from the ground. Ground, once they have a correct temperature, then we get the good crops. Our body, we have 6 or 7 tissues. The tissue need to regenerate through eating the 5-element food. Our body, we have 5-element. The 5-element need to constantly eating 5-element food to regenerating the 5-element. How to do that? Through the stomach, the metabolic heat. Because metabolic heat is like kitchen stove where we're cooking the food, the stomach heat. So the cardamom also helps to restrain that heat. Even though we are healthy, winter would be good to drink like about a week, at least about a week. Every morning before breakfast, cardamom tea would be very useful to protect kidneys, protect the digestive heat. So Tibetan medicine, we talk a lot of importance of the ndang, we call them ndang. And the Western medicine, they're talking a lot of like the importance of the immune systems or immunity. Because it's we both, I guess, believe if we have the good immune system, then we have better protect our body. Looks like the immune system is wearing a like arms on the body, protect the arms, like weapons. The soldiers, when they go to fighting, they have something to wear on the body, in case someone is shooting arrows or gun, they protect. And if we don't have, so then first someone shoot arrow, then we will be death there. But the real soldiers, they have fighters, they have like protected, Same that way is we have this immune system or the Tibetan medicine Dang. Dang is that one of the most pure substance from our food. Today's the breakfast, like today's Saturday. Today's Saturday is your breakfast. To get into the Dang is next Saturday morning, then get into the Dang. It's very small one drops. So that small one drops goes to the heart chakra, stay in the heart chakra. So that the Ndang We have many explanations in the medicines and mostly more explained in the higher teachings. But the medicine we're talking, this Ndang, is mainly to protect our body, our mind, our spirits, our energy, sort of. Like Ndang means is like a radiance, like a light. So once we have a light, and the likely thief will not enter to the house, Once our house is dark, and the likely someone could break windows, someone could enter. Same like that way, once we weaken our Ndang, then either provocations or the contagious disease is easy to attacking us. So that's what the Western medicine say. Immune system important, so we should eat vitamin C, vitamin D, this, that. So why we do that? Because try to build up the immune system. Once we have good immune system, what happens? Number one, likely protected by those contagious disease. And then number two, also there's many benefits, Same like that, also like Tibetan medicines. If you need to building up this Dandang, which is Tibetan medicine, same as like the immune system, but much more. So if you want to build up Dandang, yes, you can eat also certain specific food quickly to build up Dandang. But the first thing does not matter which food you eat. Important, you should have a good stove heat, metabolic heat or digestive heat. Without that, the kitchen heat, and then organic food or non-organic food, whatever the food is not important, you're not going to cook. So then you're not able to eat. Same like that way. If we don't have this digestive system is good, whatever we try to eat, and then will not get a good abstracted. So that we all know that part. For that reason, what I'm going to say, cardamom is like I'm not saying cardamom will build up the ndang. I'm not saying that, but cardamom can help rebuilding up the metabolic heat, and then through that heat, whatever we eat food better abstracted, automatically improve the our ndang. Once we have the ndang, then our complexion is better, our energy is better, our like the self-confidence is better, our determination is better, sense organ function is better, memory is better, clarity is better, and any aspect protect is better. So when we're talking sort of like teachings, the without and down looks like it's not easy to understand, to getting things, because it's all your determination is lost. So the lung is very important, like materials in our body. So these kind of reason the cardamom tea also useful. So what also we can do is like cloves, cardamom. Also sometimes we can make together tea. But the COVID-19 time, if you just specifically making this virus tea for this virus, then to protecting part, cardamom, nutmeg, cloves, all three is good. But if you're treating, then cardamom may not the best one, because cardamom is hot. The problem is hot. Double hot doesn't work, because it's a fire plus fire is doesn't work. For that reason, at least the active time. And later, yes, we can use cardamom, but is that the active time, during the active time, cardamom is not necessarily good. Instead of cardamom, cloves with the chamomile is good, cloves with the calendula is good, and cloves with the saffron is good. So clove plus calendula, this yellow flower, clove plus chamomile, clove plus dandelion. So this kind of is good because it's like other plant is like cold nature. Any sort of like yellow flower group is like a cold nature. So like a calendula, those group. Another one also you can make sort of like the clove plus turmeric. So the turmeric is one of the very important one medicine to detoxifying the bodies. Inflammations, moles, any sort of like excess, dirty, undigested help to clean. So turmeric is very important one herbs to clean the urinary system. If you have like urinary infections, in general, I'm talking not the COVID-19 issue. If you have like urinary infections, cloves with the turmeric is very good to clean the urine system. And the turmeric also we use for the to clean sort of like for the diabetes system time. I mean diabetic issue time also we use clove. Sorry, the turmerics. But also the COVID-19 time also turmeric, cloves is good because turmeric has to reduce the inflammations from the body because it's like a once you have the body heat produce like a vapor, and the vapor later once the vapor is cooled down is the water, and a lot of time also causing like swelling bodies like edema. For this kind of reason the turmeric is very good to clean all those kind of systems. Okay, so I will do conclusions of our teas. So main tea is like a clove because clove is antivirus. Then you can make clove with nutmeg, clove with cinnamon, clove with cardamom, or if they need it, cardamom, clove, and nutmeg. These three sort of long-term preventing way. If you, I would suggest you starting from now, time to time, you're doing this kind of tea. So this is one thing. And then also is good with the clove, with the chamomile, clove with the dandelion, clove with the calendula. So those kind of all the cloves with the saffron. So all those medicine is cold nature. So it's very important. If you look sort of like the benefits of the dandelion, dandelion is very simple a plant, small plant, but the benefit is, yeah, I think once you learn, you will surprise. You couldn't believe how this small dandelion grows next to your door has this kind of power. Because it's all those medicines, there is a Tibetan medicine, we have a pray, simje dunge chini ba nesu kyorge simje nepa chingi ba nesu kyorge pato ne meda meba nidani te nyayok cheparshu. So till end just the suffering beings. Till that point I wish to be born as like a doctor, nurse, caregivers, medicines, equipments of the medicines. So each those plan is sort of like we believe they came through the like a result of their prey, because this very small plant has a huge a benefit. So sometimes is those kind of like simple some herbs would be good if you know how to collect, how to dry, how to store, and if you need it you can make tea and then use. Because it's a, I remember when I was small, and a lot of things we pick up from the mountains or from the outside, and then we cook and then we drink because it's very useful for the healings. Okay, that part is one thing. Another one also for the specifically for the COVID-19, also you can use like garlic. So garlic is also a very important one, sort of like herbs or spices or whatever. The garlic is also like antivirus, anti-parasites, anti sort of like virus, also anti-infections. Garlic and the cloves both like anti-infections. So it's good for the any kind of like the virus, this kind of issue. Garlic you can eat internally. Also garlic you can smell. If you're going out, if you go to shop or something, you worry about the COVID-19, you may get something. And then before you get out, you try to smell garlic, like strong, like inhale the smells of the garlic. Because garlic has many powers. One of the garlic's power through the smells, also clove, same. And in the meantime, you put one piece of cloves in your mouth and then you chew in the mouth slowly, slowly. Also very useful. Okay, so those kind of spices is good. In case if you get like a COVID-19, because we never know, or or you know someone got, when they're starting sort of like a chest pain, you try to boil a like a big pot. I mean, in the water, hot water in the pot. Inside, you put a little bit of cloves, and then you put a little bit of milk, cow's milk, and then you boil together, and then you inhale the vapors. So that helps to re-smooth and then easy to breathing. Because the clove is also anti-infections, I told you, know. So any kind of like heat blocking is very good to opens. And then also help to special medicine for the lung. So these kind of also like inhaling is good. Another one also, if you feel like a more difficult to breathing or difficult to sort of like pain chest, this kind of thing. Also, you put something that the tiger, what you call tiger balm, no, these kind of like creams you put on the necks, and then you do gentle massage. This also help any kind of like oil can relax the muscle. You apply on the next area and then you do little gentle massage. When you do massage, don't bring up, go down. So like gentle massage. So this also is very important. And then in generally, the most easy, inexpensive, and big benefit is hot water. And generally, you try to drink hot water, special when you have like catching cold or any health issue. You just drink hot water. When we say hot water drink, does not mean you need to drink very hot, burned all the neck, I mean the throat. No, you drink whatever the temperature works for you. Important is the water boiled water. The cold, like unboiled water and the boiled water, these two nature is different. The boiled water is the nature is lighter. Any kind of light is easy to digest and then less accumulate like in mucus or stacking things. So for that reason, the hot water is very good health. Also, COVID-19 time is good. There also one story actually. I think there's one of Bhutanese. I think that the story is comes with a Bhutanese. He lives somewhere. Oh, how to say? So anyway, some one got a COVID-19, and then he learned hot water will be the one of the best medicines. And then he was living into a hotel. So hotel doesn't provide hot waters, no, like a Western hotel. Asian hotel, yes, they have the water bowl, but Western now is there someone has, but before not. So somehow he could not get the hot water. And then he tried to get the hot water. Then he found a Bhutanese or something. And then from there, something he got the hot water. And he treated his issue is cured by hot water. And then from there, he did sort of like he advocating benefit of the hot water. And then the big like major monasteries in India, they're using like a lot of hot waters. So it looks like it's not fake stories. Looks like it's real stories. So hot water is very useful for the health. So that's what I want to say. So this is my conclusions.